What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. And today I'm going to show you some more of my worst paintings, and you want to stick around till the end because there's going to be a surprise. I'm going to show you two paintings you wouldn't have guessed I will show you and what they meant towards my learning curve. Now, I do this video, I make it after receiving a lot of comments, mainly in the art fair, of people saying that the work is beautiful and it must take so much talent, or that I was born with it, that it must require you to be as talented to paint that way. And I always give them the same response. I'm like, if you'd have seen my first paintings, you'd know I suck. They were terrible. And they're like, were they terrible or terrible? Like, were they really terrible or just compared to the recent stuff? And I'm like, no, they were bad. Some of them were really bad. Just one last note. If you like any of these and I don't, it doesn't mean anything. Don't feel bad. You may like something that I don't. A lot of it comes down to taste. I'm just giving you my perspective based on where I'm at today and the things I see now that I didn't see back then, okay? But if we have different tastes, if you like something I don't and vice versa, that's perfectly normal, okay? So let's take it to the table. I'm gonna show you some of these works and you wanna stick around till the end to see the surprise. So I actually wanted to start with this seemingly beautiful painting, and if you think it's beautiful, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is a prime example of how too much evenness isn't a good thing. So what do I mean by that? Everything here has an even emphasis. It's all important in the same way. The mountain in the background is very bright and vibrant. Even the sky that's supposed to have this cloud here is very pulling our focus towards it. That every detail here is very colorful. The problem with that is that I, as a viewer, I don't know what to focus on. I mean, this attracts my attention, but then does as well, and this does as well, and I just go all over it. It's too happy to my taste, which is, this part is a matter of taste. The shadows and the reflections and shadows aren't simplified enough, and there isn't a real sense of depth because I don't really provide any sense of importance. It's all equally important and you don't know what to focus on. Now, I know this may seem like a huge success to some, and at the time it was a big success for me, so don't take it to say that this work sucks or that if your work looks like that it's bad. Definitely not. I'm just giving you my 2 cents from looking at this from a new angle, and with my added experience, this is what I think about this one. Now I'm going to show you some more obvious screw-ups, and you may like them, and that's great if you like them. I'm going to zoom out a bit. That's great if you like them. I'm happy for you. I had this idea in mind to show this room and then a window. I wanted the window to really shine. The problem was I just didn't darken it up enough. So that's a classic example of how it's still not ruined. I could actually darken this up right now and it will make everything in the window pop. And what's in the window isn't too bad, really. The clouds are a bit too, let's say, obvious, but other than that, it's not really as bad. But notice the difficulty I had with getting an even wash around the window. That happens to me sometimes today too. It's actually really not that bad of a technique, or, you know, just the plan wasn't solid enough, okay? Here's another one that you may like. This is a cute one. And I'm actually, again, you want to wait till the end because I'm going to show you something really surprising. But here, again, a lack of importance. You can't really tell what's important. This building and these buildings seem a little cut off. That happens because the contrast isn't right. When the contrast isn't right, it's hard to figure out what's important and what's not. And this is all about observing, careful observing, because had I observed this point properly, I'd probably darken this mountain ridge or lighten it up and darken the buildings. I would go, either way, but I wouldn't stay in the middle where it doesn't make sense to me, at least. But yeah, I still think this one was a good stepping stone. I do like the highlight here, but also if you look technique-wise, the wash is really uneven, and even though I did think about connecting it, it wasn't good enough and it wasn't even enough. It was very overworked in my taste. So that's another example of that. Here's a barn here. I don't really know what to say, but I will say the drawing is pretty accurate, funny enough, but I just didn't give any thought to the colors, and what I mean by colors is actually the values. There's just this big black blob in the middle, and then it's all pretty light. The sky, the trees, you can't tell what's up front, what's up back. There aren't any details in the foreground here that makes us feel like something's pulling us into the painting. The colors are, I don't know, garish is the word. They're very weird, I would say. It's just artificial greens and weird little grays. So I don't know, it just doesn't work to my taste. I did try to get some info in with dry brush, but it really shows you. Back at that time I was like, I have no idea what's wrong with this one. I really did not know. And again, if you like it, nothing wrong with that. But I had no idea why I didn't like it. And now I'm looking at it and it's so much more obvious. So I will have to look at the reference, obviously, but still, you know. Here's another one, just not to distract you. I'm going to move these aside. So this one, just a lack of depth in my opinion. I think this mountain ridge here, it is a nice attempt, but if you really squint your eyes or you look at it with a viewfinder, you'll notice how the values are very equal. I just didn't know. I actually wrote here I didn't know exactly where this one was going, so you know, that happens a lot. This one, I wouldn't say it's really bad. It was a nice attempt at wet in wet and adding some details. So this I actually like in that regard, but it was very gimmicky. It was very tacky. I just put in a foreground, put in a background, some birds, and it wasn't my impression. That's the main thing I guess I wanted to get to. It wasn't my way of seeing things. It was someone else's impression. After seeing a lot of paintings of this kind, I just went ahead and did one. So it wasn't really me. That's the thing. It could be great, but it wasn't really me, so it didn't feel authentic. And finally, I want to show you two surprises. That is these two paintings, which you wouldn't have probably guessed. I'll show you Frankenstein, but these two examples, funny enough, are examples of how things weren't perfect, but I was really getting there. So the first one, Frankenstein, if you're looking at it from the other angle here, or the upper angle, I finally really gave thought to the values. So I simplified it. I used just two colors, a green and a red, and I simplified the colors, but I focused on the values. So things are as dark pretty much as they should be. The way I read the shape of the face isn't perfect, but it does start to show a real thought and care towards the values. Okay, so this is why this one really works in my opinion. You can tell what you're looking at. This is, to me, even though the technique could have been better, the paper is really a bad, cheap kind. It's still a really good one and a win for me, as long as I focused on the values and got the impression that I wanted, okay? So that's a really win for me. Now the other one, funny enough, and that's a more abstract kind of loose landscape, which at the time I thought actually was a failure, but now that I look at it, I got what I wanted in, and it's what watercolor is all about. So you do have a sense of depth. The technique is interesting. There is a variety of edges. I did merge, for example, the reflection here with this. I don't like the colors as much, but in terms of the technique and simplicity, it actually does work for me, okay? So it could be a win, could be a failure, like any of these paintings, depending on your perspective and your experience and all of that. You may see one that I see as failure as a win, and vice versa. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you think something's beautiful and I don't, that's also a matter of taste. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed seeing these. I think these are more real failures, quote unquote, again, because it's all learning experiences, than the ones I showed you in the previous video, actually, because I did show some paintings in the previous one that were a success. And by the way, I will link it probably somewhere in the description box or here as a card to the right or left. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one, and now let's wrap it up. So I really hope you enjoyed this one, and again, I just have to show you this was so pivotal in my advancement with watercolor, because finally when I learned what to focus on, it all started making sense. And then within that framework of seeing what works and what to focus on, I could find my freedom as well. So don't worry, this took a long time. I think this one, I don't have a date here, but I think it was like a year into watercolor. So if you've been doing it for a couple of months, don't worry about it. If you've been doing it for a couple of years, don't worry about it. It takes time to click. Okay, now I'm working on a course that's going to be out really soon. I will keep you updated. That will solve a lot of your problems with watercolor. Okay, I want to thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to give it a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe. It really helps me reach new people. I will see you again in the next vid real soon.